Bolt fam, the energy around this team is on full alert right now. There are big changes brewing in front of Justin Herbert, a possible under-the-radar move for the offensive line, a quiet but important boost for the interior of the defense, and a backfield battle that could flip the identity of this offense. You are not going to believe what we've got today. So get comfortable, drop a like, and let's jump straight into it. And tell me in the comments, do you still trust this plan? Or do you feel like this whole thing is hanging by a thread? If there's one thing keeping Chargers fans up at night, it's this offensive line that's been playing more like a turnstile than a brick wall in front of Herbert. Every snap feels like somebody's coming free. And that's not just bad luck with injuries. That's poor planning, bad bets, and too much improvising on the fly. Jim Harbaugh is basically trying to put out a house fire with a bucket of water. In the middle of that desperation came the trade deadline swing for Trevor Penning. The same guy a lot of the Bolt fam wanted nothing to do with back in the 2022 draft suddenly lands in powder blue. The Chargers sent a future 6th-round pick hoping they could turn a possible bust into an emergency solution. A classic maybe-it-sticks move from a front office that knows the protection has hit its breaking point. And the result? Exactly what the fan base was afraid of. Against the Jacksonville Jaguars, Penning had a brutal outing. He struggled in pass protection, couldn't anchor, got exposed by speed and power off the edge, to the point the coaching staff had to make a mid-game change. The message became even clearer afterward. When Harbaugh publicly talked about tackle options for the matchup against the Las Vegas Raiders, Penning's name simply didn't come up. That's about as close as you get to a quiet benching. Penning's time as a starting tackle for the Chargers lasted just 47 snaps. With his contract up at the end of the year, there's a real chance this ends with the Chargers trading a pick for a guy who doesn't even get to 50 snaps in powder blue. And it stings even more because it's not the first 6th-rounder they've thrown at this problem. Branson Taylor also arrived as a cheap swing to help the line, played poorly in the preseason, got cut, and is now just stashed on the practice squad. If he can't even sniff the field in a year where this line is in full crisis mode, you know something went very wrong in the evaluation phase. You can rip the front office for this, but there is context. Quality offensive linemen basically never get moved in the middle of the season. At this year's deadline, Penning was essentially the only offensive lineman who really changed teams. It was a risky swing from the start, and everybody knew it. So the real question is different. If Jamari Salyer was always an internal option to slide out and play tackle, why burn a draft pick on such a fragile experiment instead of testing the guy who was already in your own locker room? The vibe in Los Angeles has shifted. After so much frustration with stopgaps and failed experiments in front of Herbert, one name has started to quietly heat up behind the scenes. And it's not the kind of splash most people were expecting. We're not talking about a big-name veteran or a superstar. We're talking about exactly the type of tackle Jim Harbaugh loves to turn into a functional piece. Carter Warren, currently on the Atlanta Falcons practice squad. Here's why this rumor isn't just smoke. Unlike a lot of practice squad linemen who are basically long-term projects, Warren has something that has become pure gold for the Chargers. Real NFL snaps. He's already started games, lined up against legit pass rushers, survived the speed and physicality of regular season football. That puts him on a different level from the raw bodies that usually float around this time of year. A 4th-round pick in 2023, Warren came into the league with strong pedigree from Pitt. He faced high-level competition, brought long arms, a solid base, quick enough feet for his size, and a cleaner pass pro foundation than most mid-round tackles. He doesn't need to be a star. He just needs to be solid, and right now that's exactly what the Chargers need. The best part is the path to get him. Because he's on the Falcons practice squad, the Chargers can sign him straight to the 53-man roster. No trade, no losing picks. Just move fast and beat everyone else to the punch. With Joe Alt still working through physical issues and the right side of the line collapsing week after week, a move like this might finally give Harbaugh and Greg Roman a tackle they can actually trust on Sunday. There's also the Harbaugh factor. He has always thrived with young offensive linemen who bring size, toughness, and a blue-collar mindset. Guys who still have room to grow but can survive on the field right now. Warren fits that mold. He's not a home run swing, but he's not some blind gamble either. He lands in that middle ground, immediate functional competence with upside. So, if this rumor keeps building and the Chargers actually pull the trigger, it's exactly the kind of under-the-radar move that can quietly stabilize the season, while Herbert takes way more hits than anyone should be comfortable with. While most of the conversation has been about the chaos on the offensive line, a quieter move has started to gain real weight inside the building. It's not a superstar, it's not a flashy headline, but it's exactly the kind of reinforcement that matters late in the year. Otito Ogbonnia is back on the practice field. And that might be bigger than it looks. The timing is perfect. The bye week is gone, the final stretch is right in front of them, and the Chargers badly need to rediscover their defensive identity. Ogbonnia's return opens that 21-day practice window, which basically means he's cleared to practice, test his body, and if all goes well, return to the active roster at any time. For a defense that's been struggling against the run and losing juice in the interior pass rush, that's a quietly massive development. Ogbonnia was hyped early in the offseason as a possible breakout piece. The injury derailed that narrative, but it didn't erase what the coaching staff saw on tape. Power at the point of attack, good gap discipline, the ability to anchor against heavy offensive lines, and energy to keep the interior rotation fresh. Tier Tart, Deshaun Hand, and Jamari Caldwell have all been playing way more snaps than ideal. That kind of workload drains explosiveness and turns into chunk runs for the opponent. That's why Ogbonnia's return matters so much. He's not coming back to be a hero or single-handedly flip this defense. He's coming back to stabilize the rotation, give the starters real rest, and keep the intensity high for 4 quarters. And if there's one thing Harbaugh always values, it's depth in the trenches. Ogbonnia gives them exactly that. Another key point: he's already logged snaps this season. Not a huge sample, but enough to show he wasn't playing poorly. Around 60 defensive snaps, a couple of pressures, a run stop, nothing that lands on a highlight reel, but steady, dependable work. And right now, consistency is exactly what this defense has been missing as they try to stay alive in the AFC playoff race. The Chargers' backfield has turned into a full-blown emotional roller coaster this season. And now, with one more big twist, it feels like we've hit the part of the story where every snap can redefine what this offense looks like. Omarion Hampton, the rookie who lit up the fan base early in the year, officially has his 21-day practice window open. When Hampton went down with that ankle injury, the mood got dark fast. Kamani Vidal and Hassan Haskins hadn't really proved they could handle RB1 duties. Najee Harris was already done for the year with that torn Achilles. The run game looked doomed. But then something unexpected happened. Kamani Vidal stepped up like he'd been waiting his whole life for this shot. Nearly 400 rushing yards, touchdowns, receiving value, calm vision. He grabbed the RB1 role and earned the locker room's respect. Even with Vidal breaking out, one question never went away. What happens when Hampton comes back? The original plan was built around him. His talent, size, and power aren't up for debate. His ability to break tackles and flip drives isn't up for debate. The most interesting part is how the coaching staff is handling it publicly. Harbaugh gave that classic coach answer, "I'm not going to prognosticate that." Translation: they're still figuring out how to split this backfield without killing Vidal's rhythm and without slowing down Hampton's path back to being the guy in this offense. You also can't ignore Harbaugh's recent track record. When Najee Harris came back from the eye injury earlier in the year, Harbaugh eased him in, ramping him up slowly instead of dumping 25 carries on his plate. The smart money says they'll do something similar with Hampton, but with a twist. Hampton isn't just another veteran returning. He's the rookie this franchise sees as part of its future core. At the same time, Vidal has done way too much to just get pushed aside. Even if Hampton eventually retakes the RB1 label, and honestly, that feels more like a when than an if, Kamani has carved out a role that's too valuable to ignore. This doesn't look like a situation where one guy plays and the other disappears. It looks more like the beginning of a 1-2 punch that could actually help carry this offense when the passing game stalls. So what should we expect? A more dangerous backfield than the one we saw before the injury. A group with real depth, versatility, and the kind of physical style that fits what Harbaugh wants late in the year. And if Hampton comes back looking like himself again, this whole conversation about the offense changes fast. Bolt fam, after everything we just went through, you can feel it. The Chargers are in one of those moments where every tiny decision can decide the season. The offensive line is under a microscope, a sneaky OL move might be coming, the defensive front is getting a quiet shot of energy, and the backfield is on the verge of becoming the engine of this offense. From here on out, it's survival mode. Week by week, adjustment by adjustment, snap by snap. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with that friend who suffers through every Chargers game with you. And tell me in the comments, which of these changes do you honestly believe can save this season? I really want to hear from you.